You feeling confident here? Yeah, Guru Bhakti always gets on my case. I don't speak into the microphone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the Sunday program here at Hare Krishna Dham. Is there anyone here tonight for the first time? Please raise your hand. Thank you. How did you find? Oh, you're from Austin, so you snuck over from Austin, huh? Did they know you're gone? How did you? Okay. Welcome. I hope you feel welcome. Okay. Anyone else here for the first time? No? Okay. Must be something happening because there's less people here today than I've ever seen in a long time. Am I missing something? 3-day weekend. Every weekend's 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Ah, see, I told you. Even the young child agrees with me. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Giribharadari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Giribharadari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Giribharadari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privijakacharya Astatara Satashi Shiman His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Iskcon's BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Maya Purnava Dvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai. Janatai Gaur Premanande. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Well, I had a heavy lunch. I need extra water. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, 5:14. So welcome everybody once again to the Hare Krishna Dham Temple. We hope you have a nice evening here tonight. Today, I decided to read a verse from Bhagavad Gita, from the 5th chapter. The 5th chapter is entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. This is the 14th text. I found it in my notes. I have the great fortune to be able to take a few minutes every day to read some of the Bhagavad Gita. And I learned how to take notes recently from my phone, which is like a major accomplishment. And this one stood out, and I marked it, so I thought we would read it today. Nakartatvam nakarmani lokasha srijati prabhu nakarma pala samyogam sambhavas bhavartate. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Everyone catch that? Should I repeat that? The embodied spirit, master of the city of the body, of his body. So who is the master of the body? According to this verse, who is the master of the body? Nice try. Say it. Who said? The spirit soul. The embodied spirit. Us, the individual Atma. The individual Atma is the master of the city of his body. He does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of his actions. So who does it? All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. The modes of material nature are acting. I've explained this for the last several weeks. There are 3 modes of material nature. Raise your hand if you know one of the modes of material nature. Somebody's phone knows the modes of material nature. Yes? Mode of goodness. Somebody else raise your hand. Yes? Mode of ignorance. Somebody else? Mode of passion. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. So these modes of material nature, they are like the 3 primary colors. I've explained this many times. So when you combine those different modes of material nature, you get a particular type of lens by which we see things through, or see everything through. And that nature is a combination of those 3 modes. And so everyone in this room is seeing through a particular color, including myself. I don't exclude myself. even though one of my friends just gave me new glasses and I'm supposed to be able to see very clearly now. But I'm still seeing through the modes of material nature of this material body. Each and every one of us has this distinct spirit type of lens which we see through according to the body we've received. So this is very important to know. So I'll read the purport, or commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The living entity, as will be explained in the 7th chapter, is one of the energies of the Supreme Lord, but is distinct from matter, which is another nature called inferior of the Lord. So now we're understanding two natures, one superior and one inferior. The living entity is superior. The material energy is inferior. So somehow the superior nature, the living entity, us, the living entity, somehow we, the living entity, have been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. So we've been in contact with material nature for how long? So how long is time immemorial? Yeah, it seems like forever, huh? Nice. Since time immemorial, we cannot ascertain that moment which we came into this material atmosphere. The spirit soul by nature is eternal. But we come into material nature, the material energy, and we've been here since time immemorial. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of the varieties of activity and the resultant reactions. I think I'm going to read that again. Did everybody follow that? You followed that, Gopal? You're reading it in your phone. I can't quiz Gopal now because he's got the cheat sheet in front of him. Okay. The temporary material body or dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of varieties of activities. So this material body is the cause of our activities. This is really, maybe some Sunday, because today's Gita verse was marked as Sunday on my notes, to give this, because a nice purport, nice commentary today. There's also another one from the 13th chapter where it describes that material nature is the cause of so many different things, and we'll get into that maybe someday here. So the material body, the temporary body or material dwelling place which we obtain is the cause of varieties of activities and the resultant reactions. So the material dwelling place which he obtains, or which we obtain, is the cause of varieties of activities. So let me explain that just a little bit, because we all, what would you say, obtain a particular type of body. And then that body creates a particular type of activity. I'll give you a little example. This is from the 13th chapter of the Gita, where Srila Prabhupada says, once one gets the body of a dog, he has to act like a... If one gets the body of a dog, he has to act like a... I'm making sure everybody's paying. That's a pretty soft reaction. When you get the body of a dog, you have to act like a... Dog. Yeah, okay. And if you get the body of a hog, you have to act like a... Ah. You want to hear a story? I've told this story before. You may have heard it. We used to, I still do, but not very often. When I was a young man and had a good back, I used to carry about 30 of these books in a bag and go to football games and distribute books. Sometimes we would do the Georgia Bulldogs and the Arkansas Razorbacks. So we would approach everybody and say, are you a hog or a dog? And they would say, I'm a dog. And I'd say, all the dogs get one. And they say, are you a hog or a dog? And you'd say, I'm a hog. And I say, all the hogs get one too. So we didn't discriminate. This is the nature of Lord Nityananda's mercy. He does not discriminate if you're a hog or a dog. You get the mercy. Okay. So if you get the body of a dog, you have to act like a... And if you get the body of a hog, you have to act like a... And if you get the body of a demigod, you have to act like a... Yeah, that was the third one in the purport. So these are all due to the results of different reactions that we're getting. This body is simply a bag of reactions. This body, bag. The bag, sack, right? It's a bag. It's actually a machine. Yantra Drudani Maya, the body is like a machine. And so we reside within this body, and this body is created according to the actions that we performed in our previous life. In other words, if we act like a dog in this lifetime, our next body is going to resemble a... Yeah, so now you guess you own that one. If you know it, you own it. And even if you don't know it and you act it, you're going to get it. Well, that was mean. Anybody feel the pain? Raise your hand. Nobody felt the pain. Okay, one honest man in the room. Thank you, our newcomer. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, we have to own the reactions to our actions. It's just like there's a sign in certain places where I don't drive that much anymore, but you see the billboards. If you do the crime, expect to do the time, huh? If you do the crime, you have to. You can't blame him for getting the reaction. You have to do the time. So if we act like a dog and we get the body of a dog, what can we do? Living in such a conditional atmosphere, one suffers the result of one's activity of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. Did everybody catch that? Living in a conditional atmosphere. What kind of atmosphere are we living in now? Very conditional atmosphere. What is the nature of that condition? Dukkalayam Mashasvatam, it's a place of misery, where one has to undergo different things. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease. All these things are not natural to the soul. Janma, taking birth, the soul, Najayate, Amirate, Vakadachan, the soul is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, undying, primeval. Then the Hanyate, Hanyamane, Sadire, when the body becomes unfit for the soul to inhabit, the soul exits this body and continues to live. But due to ignorance, according to this, the activities of the body by identifying himself with the body due to ignorance. So why do we identify with this body? What does it due to? Ignorance. And what is ignorance? Lack of understanding of who we are. We are actually eternal spirit souls, part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, due to our littleness, which we'll maybe catch a little bit of the next purport for the next verse, number 15, due to the littleness of our existence, we forget. Where's that right here? Consequently, although we, the spirit soul, are constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of our existence, we forget our constitutional position of service to the Supreme Lord and are thus entrapped by nescience, or ignorance. Due to the littleness of our existence, in other words, due to the fact that we can sometimes be in the inferior energy or we can be in the superior energy of the Lord. We are under the control of one of those two things at all times. So going back to that point, living in such a conditional atmosphere, living in this type of atmosphere, of course I've told you this many times, my business card, Hare Krishna Swami business card, says that our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. We're not meant to be threatened by non-existence because our existence is eternal. But now we're in the atmosphere of non-existence. What does that mean? What does it mean to be in the atmosphere of non-existence? That means that any time that which we falsely identify with will be gone. And what are we falsely identifying with? The body. Yeah, we're falsely identifying with the body. Yet the body is just a vehicle. Actually, in the 3rd chapter, if I can find it real quick, that would be really nice. I think it's number 6. Maybe 5. Maybe 4. Okay, I can't find it. Srila Prabhupada explains that the body is just a dead vehicle to be manipulated by the soul. It's just dead matter to be manipulated by the soul. That's pretty heavy, isn't it? Somebody say Hare Krishna. Okay. Was that heavy? Do you ever think that I'm just, dead matter to be manipulated by the soul? I don't feel that way. Hard for me to resonate with that. Because I think that this is alive, but this is just matter. And what's making it alive is the soul inside. Have anybody ever heard me use this as an example before? I don't know how to do it anymore because they make the phone so you can't take the batteries out anymore. But before, I knew how to do it. You could take the battery out. When the battery's out of the phone is dead. When you put the battery in, the phone is, as long as you turn it on, right? That's just the battery. So in the same way, the soul gives this body life. Like the battery gives the electronics device life. So the soul is the most important thing that we have come across so far in tonight's discussion. So let's go back. Living in such a conditional atmosphere, we've already described that one suffers the result of the activities of the body. How? How do we suffer the results of the activities of the body? Why or how? By identifying himself with the body. If we identify ourselves with this body, then we're going to suffer or enjoy the resultant reactions that this body has coming to it. Now, if we don't identify with this body, then that suffering is not there. Very difficult state to get to. Prasadi sarva dukkhanam glanyara. That one who is freed, prasadi sarva dukkhanam. 2nd chapter, what? Somebody help me, 65? Yeah. One thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence soon becomes well established. In other words, our intelligence, meaning our ability to understand the knowledge between matter and spirit, so that when the body is, when we're residing within this body, we understand ourselves to be something separate and distinct from this body, the spirit soul. So when the body is telling us so many different things, especially the mind, the sixth sense, we have 5 knowledge-acquiring senses. The sixth sense is the mind, and this mind wanders from one place to the next. And so it makes us identify with this material body. Recently I was reading in the 5th canto, third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, how the mind has one specific function. When we're in this material atmosphere, the mind has a function. And it was quite interesting to understand, because the mind's position is that of goodness, and the position of intelligence is passion. And then intelligence is the next door neighbor to the soul. So when we misidentify ourselves with this body, we acquire that false ego, because we're so close to that soul. And then the business of the soul, the business of the mind, please everyone, he's asking you to move forward because there's 1 million people outside trying to get in. I'm a vegetarian, I won't bite. Sometimes that helps. So what happens is that the mind's business now is to protect the false ego. The mind's business now is to protect our false identification with this material body. Because we're identifying ourselves with ignorance, we're identifying ourselves as this body due to ignorance. Now, again, another immemorial. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that is the cause of bodily sufferings and distress. It is ignorance, acquired from time, since time immemorial, that is the cause of the bodily suffering and enjoyment. So what is the cause of our suffering from time immemorial? Ignorance. Ignorance. Don't they have a saying, "'Tis folly to be wise, while ignorance is bliss"? Anybody here feeling the bliss of ignorance lately? Somebody say Hare Krishna. I like that time immemorial. I'm going to look it up when I get home. Actually, maybe if we have time, I'll ask my secretary. My secretary's name is Bhaktasiri. As soon as, somebody caught it, as soon as a living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, as soon as the living entity becomes what? Aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. Anybody in this room want to become free from the reactions that they have coming from their previous actions? Say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So how are we going to do that? We have to become aloof from the activities of the body. As long as we are in the city of the body, it appears that we're the master of it. As long as we reside in the city of this body, it appears to be what we are the masters of it. But in actuality, we are neither its proprietor nor the controller of its actions and reactions. So what's going on? He is simply in the midst of the material ocean, struggling for existence. We're stuck in the material ocean, struggling for existence. When we get to the 7th chapter, beautiful verse. It's actually a double verse. I hope I got the right chapter. Sometimes I make a mistake. Brand new book here. I think it's 5 and 6 and 7. Mai Sannyasa, that Krishna becomes a swift deliverer from the ocean of material birth and death. What number is that, Gopal? Yeah, it's Mai Sannyasa. Yeah. It's amazing how many times you go over these verses and then you can't remember them. Every day, over and over and over again. It's 2 verses, Mai Sannyasa. But anyway, we'll just go back to the ocean of the struggling for material existence. In the commentary to these verses, Srila Prabhupada explains that no matter how good a swimmer one may be, if they're tossed in the middle of the ocean, can they get to the shore without assistance? If you're tossed in the middle of the ocean on your own, can you make it to the shore without assistance?
12, 6, and 7. 12, 6, and 7.
12, long ways away. Thank you. If we're tossed into the ocean, the ocean, there's no way we can get to the shore. But if somebody comes down and extends the hand, 12, 6, and 7, how did I miss it by that many chapters? Thank you, Krishna, for giving me some humility here today. Oh yes, etu savani karmani not sannyasa mat paraha. The verse I always remember is te shamahang samudatar mityu sangsara sagarat. Mityu sangsara sagarat. Let me find that in the word for word. Tesham mityu of death, samsara, immaterial existence, from the ocean. Bhavami, I become, after a long time, the carrier. Krishna carries us from this ocean. there's a picture, I don't know, in some of the publications of Krishna hooking and pulling the devotee out of the ocean. You want to hear a funny story? Yeah, Gopal's always ready for a funny story. When I joined the Hare Krishna movement many decades ago, we were told that the men have to have a Sika, because when we die, Krishna comes and pulls us out of the material world by the Sika. So back then we had really long Sikas. Now I got this tiny, tiny Sika, because I know Krishna is larger than the largest and smaller than the smallest, and no matter what size Sika I have, he can get me, if he so desires. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean struggling for existence. Anybody feel the struggle of material existence? Huh? You feel that sometimes? I was talking to some of my friends lately, almost all my friends that are gainfully employed, which is most of my friends, saying that, Mars, I just really have a hard time finding the time. I wish I had more time for devotional activities. I try to help them figure out how their occupational duties are also engaged in the service of the Lord. There's two types of swadharmas. That was the other verse I saved after Sunday. Swa, S-V, Sunday, S-U, so S-U-V, so swadharma. I happened to bump into that one in my notes. So there's two types of swadharmas. I think I've explained that here before. Swadharma means our occupational our duty, or that which is required of us to perform. So there's two. We're in the material world, so there's two. We have our material duties that we must perform, and we have our spiritual duties which are needed to be performed. So it's described that those two things can be interlinked, and one is very, very fortunate. So that takes a little bit of education to understand how to link these two things together. We're in this unfortunate position of being in the material world, and we're seeing how we have to put these two things together. It's a great, great struggle. It's a great effort, because it's the beginning of karma yoga. Yat karosi jadasnasi jattahosi dadanti yat. Srila Prabhupada explains that this is the beginning of karma yoga, that all that we do, all that we eat, all that we give away, all the austerities that we perform these in act of love for Krishna. And that takes a little bit of training. And so we're being tossed over and over in the ocean of material, in the material energy, and we have no control over them. We have no control over them. These are our predestined activities which are going to be placed upon us due to our previous choices. Material energy does not act outside of any other thing than the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the director. Daivi hesha gunamayi mamamaya durantiya. That material energy is under the control of Krishna. But he's created such a thing which is known as durantiya. Durantiya means prison. Krishna's prison. He has a, what do you call it? What do you call it? Penal system? Penitentiary? What do they call it? Penal system? Penitentiary is where you go. What's the system called? Penal system, yeah. And so we may escape the laws of the land. We will never escape the laws of God. We can't escape, because Krishna understands every single thing that we're doing. So now we're caught in this ocean and struggling for existence. And the waves of the ocean are tossing them, and we have no control over them. Our destination is there. Now our choice, because there's also that along with that predestined situation, which we created in our previous life, and our previous life before that, and as the verse has said twice, since time immemorial. We've been packing these things on us. I remember one time there was Prabhupada would say you need to pack your bags and get out of the material world. So we kind of abbreviated that a little bit. Most of us need to unpack our bags to get out of the material world. We need to unpack that baggage which we've accumulated for a long, long time that is controlling us. So within that controlled situation, we have choice. We have some freedom. And that freedom is how we're going to react to the particular reactions that we're experiencing at this particular time, place in our life. Am I going to take ownership for the reactions that I'm receiving, or am I going to try to blame them on somebody else, or something else, or some other thing? Is that we're very, very expert at transferring blame. I think they have something called the blame game. Is there such a thing? Somehow or other that resonates in my brain here. It may be a game, or it may be just something that people play when they're trying to not take responsibility for their actions. I remember, I've told you this before, right? When I used to run I was an ashram teacher, meaning I ran a boarding school for boys, and sometimes there would be something out of place, and I'd walk in and I'd go, "Gentlemen," and they'd all go, "Not me, Maharaj." And I would always say, "Well, I was just, oh, really? I was going to ask who wants a $100 bill." "Really, Maharaj, I want that." I said, "Well, first we have to find out who broke the window." You see? So the thing is, we actually have to come to a point of ownership. And once we come to the place of ownership, then we have a choice of what we're going to do with owning that situation. How are we going to make the next move? Take the next step. Srila Prabhupada says here, would you like to know what the best solution is? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. The best solution is to get out of the water. We're in, what kind of water are we in? The ocean of material existence. And what is that ocean of material existence doing? Are you paying attention? The ocean of material existence is tossing us side to side, and we're suffering in this material ocean of existence. And Srila Prabhupada says here, the best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness, transcendental knowledge. That alone will save one from all turmoil. You can see how Srila Prabhupada uses these words in this Bhagavad Gita. When we read them carefully, isn't it? When we read the words carefully, they're all connected. The ocean of material existence, being tossed by the waves of material existence. Nothing we can do on a material level can